everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Mutanda. I'm here with my bro, Mumbi. What's good, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Impact Space podcast. Like, share, subscribe, join the community. We got some awesome things coming up, and we're excited for more wonderful conversations around this beautiful game that we all love so much. So today, all about relationships. All about relationships. First and foremost, the relationship that you have with yourself, which is what we're going to focus on in today's discussion, and how you, young player, or wherever you are in your football journey, can become a better, you could say, manager of yourself. Being able to manage yourself is super key in terms of then being able to earn the trust and respect of your teammates. So it's a great topic, and Mumbi, you are like the perfect person to talk about this. You have so many awesome insights and examples that you've lived that you can share with us. So where do you want to begin? All about relationships and the relationship between you and yourself. Where do you want to begin?
Yeah, let's start talking about the relationship you have with yourself, which is the most important relationship, I would say, from the standpoint of you are living inside your own body, you are living inside your own mind, and if you don't have I guess I'll use the word positive for now. If you don't have a positive relationship with yourself, it's really hard to play. It's really hard to enjoy, which is what the game is all about. And then also, if you have aspirations to play at higher levels, it's hard to improve. And so, yeah, I think that's where we need to start, is a relationship with yourself. And I think that so many kids, especially the youth players, they don't understand that some of the little things we do can be really detrimental to that relationship with ourselves. So, for example, I hear this one quite often. I suck. Oh man, that's so bad. Right? You've heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that for me, I've stopped sessions because of it as a coach. And I've tried to set that foundation early in telling the players, we don't use that language. We don't talk about ourselves that way, because how we talk about ourselves is going to then manifest itself. So, for example, if we're doing some type of exercise or game, and you were in a position to score, to finish, and you missed the target because you maybe mishit the ball, maybe you took your eye off it, whatever. And you say, I suck, I'm so bad. Okay, well, what's going to happen the next time that ball comes to you? You know, are you going to be prepared for that action? Are you going to be prepared for that moment? And if mentally you've told yourself, I'm not good, or literally saying I suck or I'm bad, you're not setting yourself up for success, because it starts up here first before we get to the physical. It has to start up here. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, the what you touched upon there is spot on, because really, essentially, this topic of the relationship you have with yourself, what we're really talking about in essence is your dialogue, your inner dialogue, right? Your self-talk, and the way in which you step onto the field or step into a room, right? Because this goes beyond football, and the manner in which you view yourself, right? Your self-esteem, your sense of confidence. Every player, of course, has games or practices where you feel on top of the world, and we all know what those feel like. And we all, if you've played long enough, know the opposite, right? Games in which it's not working, or you feel really low for whatever reason. Maybe there's a lot of things going on. So as you grow and mature, of course, and top end performers have the ability to balance, right? And be more level-headed. It's not that they don't feel pressure. They do. Everybody feels pressure. It's just how they navigate that. That is the beautiful thing. So, yeah, the conversation you have with yourself and about yourself is super key here.
Yeah, and I would say we have to start from a foundation of the game is imperfect, and players sometimes don't understand that it's a game of mistakes. Someone will make a mistake at some point, and that's the nature of the game. If you look at any top players, and let's go back to the analogy or the example of the player in front of goal, the top players in the world miss chances. They do, right? You can find, I'm sure, if you spent enough time looking, you would find the top players in the world missing chances in front of goal that they probably should score. And so their mindset can't be, oh my God, I suck, because that chance will come again. Maybe it's in 5 minutes, maybe it's in 20 minutes, maybe it's in half an hour, it's in the next half, maybe it's in the next game. But how will you be prepared to seize that moment if the mindset was, oh, I suck, I'm so bad? You don't get to that level, and you don't get better at anything really if you have a negative internal dialogue. And so, yeah, man, like it's something that I think we need to talk about more with players, is understanding what kind of mental framework can we help you, the individual, create. So what kind of words can you repeat to yourself, for example, during the course of a game? Or what can you do pre-game? What kind of ritual might you put together to help yourself get in that state of mind that says, okay, today I'm going to try and do this, this, and this. Here are the things that are in my control. Here are the things that are maybe outside of my control. But I'm just going to focus on what I can control. And recognize I won't be perfect. I may make a mistake, and making a mistake is okay, because it's a part of competition, it's a part of learning, and it's a part of growth, right? And we have to help players be okay with that you don't have to be perfect, because nobody is, and no player is perfect on any given day, right? We can find a performance where, oh my God, that guy was 10 out of 10, but he can't be 10 out of 10 every day. And so we have to understand that and help players understand that, especially as coaches, because you and I have that lens right now as coaches, as educators.
Yeah, how would you recommend that players develop that script, as you call it? I don't know if you use the word script, sorry, but essentially,
Yeah,
what you're
it's
talking
a
about is
script, it's a framework.
yeah, that framework. There you go. Use the framework that they need to get into. What advice would you give to helping them develop that framework if they've never been exposed to doing something like that? Where should they start?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways, and sometimes it depends on age and stage. So the younger a kid is, a player is, sometimes this is where the parents maybe need to be a bit more involved, because as kids are developing, it's maybe a bit harder to understand this concept of I would say self-reliance, and generating this idea from yourself that, hey, I've got this on my own. So I think parents play a crucial role at the younger ages. So for example, to start at the younger ages and stages, parents can consistently tell their kids, hey, go out there, enjoy, have fun. And we set this framework of, no matter what the result, or no matter if you make a mistake or not, we enjoy watching you play. We love you. And no matter what happens, the sun is still going to shine today, and we're going to train again tomorrow. We'll play again tomorrow, and you'll try your best again tomorrow, right? So starting that with the parents, I think, is really, really important, because sometimes, especially at the younger ages, and you and I have seen how crazy the youth soccer world can be sometimes, there's a lot of pressure maybe sometimes that comes from the sidelines and from parents and from coaches, and all this noise like, oh, win, 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 and you got to, sometimes it can be too much for kids. And so just bringing them back to, hey, it's about having fun, it's about trying your best, and that's it. And so I think that's what it needs to begin with at the younger ages. I don't know what you think about that, and then we can talk about the older ages, but do you agree with that for the younger ages, would you say?
Yeah, listen, after a game, especially, it's so important to go and we talk about creating rituals, right? So pre-game, and then there are some that you have, of course, during the game, even if you don't realize that you have them. You got to pay attention to the patterns of behavior that you have.
Sure.
And then post-game, the advice is always create something that will allow you to have some distance from the game. And that can be tough, of course, because the games can be really tough to get over, especially if it's a negative result, and really disappointment. But I always tell parents, like, go get them some ice cream or something, or smoothie, whatever sweet treat that they enjoy. Because how many kids, even top level players, right, when they think back on their youth days, they talk about what they enjoyed about their games were, yes, playing, but also the times with mom or dad where they would leave the game, whether they won or lost, or maybe sometimes even especially after they had a loss or didn't play well, and then they got some ice cream, or they got a cookie, or they got something, because that's that time and it's that sweet memory. So it's important to remember that it's, at the end of the day, it is just a game. At the same time, right? Because two things can be true at once. It doesn't mean that it's not important and that you don't have big feelings about it. It's just, again, striking that balance. So, yes, 100%, that's the role of the parent. And also the player has to develop the ability to have some thick skin, right? Where you're not too high on your performance when you do well, because you develop a certain level of expectation that you are going to perform. And that you're not too low when things don't go well, because you don't become a bad player overnight. Sometimes you just have a tough one and you have to go again. So, yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and I would echo the point of when you are 10 years removed from playing at the youth level, 15, 20 years removed as you and I are. I don't remember games that I won and lost, right? So if you go and just take this straw poll of people that have played as youth players and now are graduated from college, or maybe they played professionally, maybe they didn't, people aren't going to talk to you really about what they won and lost. Most of the people are going to talk to you about relationships they had with their teammates, relationships that they had with their coaches. And so that's what I think is really important at the younger ages. Now, for the older ages, I think it's a little bit different. As you get older, I think the competition gets a little bit tougher. And I think that the game is, it's just higher level. Everybody has a mindset, I think, to compete more so than at the younger ages. I think it's just much more intense is the word I would use, because of everyone's development physically, also their maturation developmentally as young people as well. So competing and winning and losing are there these concepts that are even more I again would just use the same word, intense. So if you're a player at the older ages and stages, so we're talking high school age, so 14 to 18, developing that framework could look like, for example, writing down on paper what it is you are trying to do in the game. So, for example, if you have a couple controllables that you write down, that's an awesome place to start. So, for example, if you say, no matter what, in this game, I'm going to do these three things, and say you're a attacking player. Say, all right, every time the center back has the ball, okay, I'm going to do my best to close him down. Okay, so that's something that you can control. Another one might be, okay, every time the ball goes past me, I'm going to sprint back. Okay, that's another one you can control. Another one you can write down is, every time a wide player has the ball close to the box, I'm going to make some type of run into the box. Okay, that for me sets up this clear expectation that you have these controllables, that it doesn't require the intervention of another person, right? And that's where I think the power of that self-reflection comes in, is that these are things I can control. I have ownership over these things. I can take accountability over these things. And I don't need a teammate. I don't need a coach to tell me to do these things in the game. And surely nobody is pushing me physically to do these things, right? So I would start with that, is figure out what are your roles and your responsibilities, and figure out one or two, maybe three things that you can control and focus on throughout the game. And if you miss one, go get the next one. And I love that saying of the next play mentality. So if I say, hey, I'm going to try to pressure the center back every single time, there may be a time you're late or you miss that assignment. Make sure the next one you don't miss. right? And so that's where I think it can start with the framework for players is setting up 1, 2, maybe 3 things, understanding your role and your responsibility within that team, and then attacking those targets as often as you can in the game.
Yeah, the key thing there, because goal setting is a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And
very difficult.
the key there is the specificity with which you described whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So for young players, my thing is there has to be a sense of flexibility and adaptability with your mindset because like we said, this game is unpredictable and there's a lot out there that you're not in control of. So, we talk about the umbrella topic or the title of this episode is all about relationships. And we're starting with the relationship you have with yourself. So really, when it comes to self-talk and managing yourself, it's, managing your body movements. Players need to understand that you're always communicating something. Right? You're always communicating something to the outside world without saying a word. The way you move, the way you stand, right? Where you're looking, your body speaks. You don't have to say a word. People are going to make some sort of formulation in their mind. And now when it comes to what you are saying to yourself, again, this is something that you got to practice. What the key is understanding that you can get better at that, right? You can start to control that and to become
It does take practice.
It does take practice, and to become a master at it, become a master performer at it, takes work and it's a struggle. Listen, I'm not perfect at it. Like it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And yet at the same time, you start to, when you're around people who are doing high level things, high level performers, there are patterns, right? And when you listen to people speak about high performance, you get a sense that it's not so much that they replay a perfect performance, or that they have this like desire to be perfect per se, even though that's what it seems and that's what it comes across as sometimes, or that's what it's advertised as. But when you really dig deeper, what it is, it's a permanent state of balance so that they can adapt to whatever's thrown at them. All right? And because we hear top level players all the time when they're describing something that they've done in a game that's seemingly out of this world. And the reporter will be like, "Oh my goodness, like this was insane. There was a lot of pressure. What were you thinking in this moment?" And how many times you hear something to something like, I tried to stay calm. I saw this, so then I did this, or I saw this and I thought I was going to do this, but then I had to change because of this. And it's almost seemingly super simple. It's unconscious, a lot of it, because it happens really fast. And then what I pay attention to, and really what I'm referencing, one of the examples I'm referencing is Andres Iniesta from Spain and the 2010 World Cup final when he scored the winning goal, right, in extra time. And do you remember what he said about it?
I don't remember, actually.
He talked about how still everything was and how quiet everything was. And he talked about in that moment, the ball came and I just tried to be, he said, I just tried to be present. And things just, it seemingly slowed down and I was quiet. That is an elite performer. Because obviously, it wasn't a quiet moment. There's 80,000 or however many people in the stadium. There's, a global audience. And there's all this pressure to deliver this win for Spain. Had never won the World Cup until that point. And yet he says, I listened to silence. And it was quiet. So if players get to a level where you can be intentional with your self-talk, and that's such an important thing.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that too, man, I think the environment you create for yourself can also influence that self-talk. So what do I mean? I'm talking about the hours before you leave the house, for a game. I'm talking about the car ride that to the game, and then what happens between you getting out of the car and then the start of the warm up. So there's little details along the way that I can't tell a player how to get themselves in that zone. Everybody's got something different. So one player might like listening to music in the car ride. Another player might not. One player might like eating a certain food at home. Maybe it's like a pasta dish. Another player might say, "No, I just need some fruit." Whatever it is that gets you in that zone, that state of mind, that's that calm, that focus, that steady you were talking about, that's what you need to do, right? Yeah. There are some extreme examples for the players that follow world football. You know, you look at a guy like Jamie Vardy who's crushing Red Bulls before games and whatnot. You've heard about this. Yeah. You wouldn't recommend that, but hey, man, that works for him. So figure out what works for you. That's the point. Some kids, maybe they might journal before a game. If that works for you, that's great. Write down, what you want to get out of the game. Write down some of the things you maybe were working on that week as a team, collectively, and then also individually. What are things that maybe some clubs are now adopting IDPs? What is it that is in your IDP, your individual development plan, in your specific position, based on your specific needs? What is it that you need to get better? These are things that you can write down. And just know that, again, this is not a copy paste where you can take what someone else does and then plug it into your routine. That might not work. And I do remember a specific situation. A kid asked me, "Hey, Coach Moonby, what do you do before games?" And this was 2 seasons ago when I was at Flower City in New York. And I told him, "Listen, man, I can tell you what I do, but it may not work for you. For many different reasons. I'm at a different age. I'm at a different stage. I play at a different level with different pressures than you. And it wouldn't be fair for me to tell you and then say, follow this. That wouldn't be fair." Because I said, honestly, when I'm, getting ready for a game, I usually take a nap. Some people are they don't have that in them for whatever reason in their routine. To say, I can sleep a few hours before a game. I'm actually very comfortable taking a quick nap before a game. And I said, hey, for example, if that doesn't work for you, don't try and force yourself to take a nap just because I do, right? And so, yeah, I think it's a question of being comfortable in your own skin and finding what may be productive for you to take on board. And when we talk about a pre-game ritual, and then the self-talk will follow. Giving yourself these reminders, these cues of what it is you're trying to do on that day, how you want to feel, basically trying to manifest what you want to get out of that day and out of that game. That's where I think your mind needs to go with the environment you create, and then also the self-talk that you put into that environment.
So no, spot on. Forgive me for the little audio intrusion there, because I was searching for something as you were talking that relates exactly to that and relates to something you talked about earlier, because there's a sports psychologist named Dan Abrams.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah, and he specializes in football psychology. So for the players listening to this, we're going to give you a concrete thing. These are the concrete things that you can do, and here's a concrete person who's an expert in the field. Maybe we reach out to him. It would be incredible to get him on the show. So we'll reach out. We'll send him, here's the thing. We'll send him this and be like, hey, Dan, we're talking about you and we would love to talk to you. But he has literally an episode where he talks about a match script. And he talks about 2 or 3 actions, behaviors that the player can control. And and he or she will run onto the pitch and focus on as they train or as they play. So there it is, right? You're hearing from an expert in the field that we're, these are real things. And when to come up with a script that isn't about perfection, because again, perfection is unattainable. It's just about mastery of yourself and your self-talk and balance, right? It's about
which
balance.
Is a process. There's no, and sometimes I think people are looking for that end result. You have to understand that you're not a finished product at any given time.
No, absolutely.
And to see players even at the top level, for example, because we know that all the young players have some sort of idea about the top level. There are players that are still trying to push their level, and they're still doing new things. They're still trying to achieve excellence. And so that is not something that is a one-day thing. There are people that spend years and years and decades pursuing that excellence. So there's no way that we can look at a youth player and say, hey, you're finished. Like, you've arrived, you've done it all. Absolutely not. There's always another level. There's always another level of growth that you can hit. And I think that we always need to be aware of that, especially when we're talking to young people, but young people when you're talking to yourselves. This is something that you need to know. So yeah, absolutely. I would echo what you said.
We're always in the state or process of reforming ourselves, right? So this is, yeah, that's the takeaway from today. What else would you add, my bro, before we close off here, or as we close?
I mean, it's such a fantastic topic, the topic of communicating with yourself, with creating an environment, a space up here for yourself, because if you can do that, then you can do anything. And we're not just talking about on the field, we're talking about off the field as well. This could lead to, for example, for the kids out here that are listening to this could be better school outcomes. This could be better relationship outcomes outside of the field. And it just opens so many doors if you are clear and calm up here, because this is where everything starts.
Yeah. So your homework for all you players out there is to develop a match and or training script for yourself. The couple actions that you are in control of that you want to achieve, and then also a mindset that you want to shift into and how you're going to shift into that mindset regardless of what happens on the field, right? And how you achieve that state of balance, how you achieve that stillness that Iniesta was talking about when he banged in that winning goal for Spain in 2010. We can all hope to be as serene as he was when we play. I think that'd be remarkable. So, but till then, we will keep working on ourselves. Mumbi, pleasure talking to you. This conversation is going to be exciting to get into as we talk more about leadership and going from, the relationship with yourself to relationships with others. But it all starts with first knowing yourself and being willing to work on yourself. So if you're willing to work on yourself, you're in good company, because Mumbi and I think we're trying to work on ourselves, be better, produce better content for all of you. Thank you so much for joining this community and being part of our journey. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Impact Space Podcast.